All right. Welcome everybody to the opening of Tesoros 2025. Who can believe it? Season. I don't know what happened to all of last year, but we're going to start this year off with a bang. My name is Stacy Dyson. I am the head of Tesoro, which is an international women's poets organization. We have members all over the United States, in Mexico, in Colombia, in Canada, in England, in Australia, in Portugal, and South Africa. I have always opened these shows like this. I don't see any reason to change. We are beyond blessed to have actually one of our newest Tesoro members opening the season for us and opening the Aperitif concerts. I am not going to bother to give you her bio because that's not my function. She can describe herself just fine. So without any further ado, Shelly, honey, how you doing?
I'm doing fine now.
Okay. Tell us who you are. Tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm a mother and an activist and a teacher and an artist and a poet and a pet rescue and um, I am a possibilitarian and I'm a damn good human being.
Cool. Okay. That'll work. Um, I start all of these interviews like this. So let me ask you this question, and you can interpret it any way you want to. Why poetry and why now?
Poetry has been in my being since I was 7 years old. I uh, was a big fan of Dr. Seuss, Ogden Nash, Lewis Carroll, and all of that nonsense. I took some time off to have life and wrote again in college. And those poems are full of love and angst and loss and disco balls. And then I raised a family, raised a few businesses, and came back to poetry when I moved to New Mexico in 2018 and attended open mics, and I was hooked. And now I use it as a vehicle to um, express how I feel about the state of the world. And I call myself bipoetic. I have a poem about that. And I um, also am enamored with the beauty of the wilderness here.
Huh? I have been reading a bunch of articles and things lately and seeing that there's a big divide between people who think that poetry is absolutely necessary for the human condition to persist, thrive, perpetuate itself, all of that. And then other people who say it's just an art form. Can you address that a little bit?
Well, for me, it's a, I see it as a way to thrive. And to express um, how 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 deeply you can go and put it into words without oh, this is tricky. Yesterday at the People's March in Las Cruces, I this young man, 15 years old, came up to me and told me he absolutely loved my poems that I uh, performed on the stage. And he, I asked him if he wrote poetry, and he said, yes, but it's not very good. And I said, you just have to keep writing. You have to keep listening to other people and what they bring. And it's more than just an art form or a part of literature. It's um, it's necessary. And for me, it's necessary. And I asked him to forward me his poems in an email, and I'd love to read them. So,
What is your trigger. Okay. Some people need music, some people need absolute silence, some people just, kind of wait for the ideas to drop in the middle of the grocery store. Is there a sound or an environment that makes you go, oh, now?
Um, Sometimes it's just a random thought that I uh, hear or come up with, or maybe something one of my kids in my poetry club will say, and then I'll just run with that. Um, and sometimes it's um, something I'm passionate about, some injustice, such as school shootings and things like that.
Talk to me about where you see yourself going with this. 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, whatever. But what's the end game for you poetically?
The end game for me is to have my own work published in a book by itself. I was, I've been in an anthology here, and also I was part of a four-woman publication that was released last year, Upward Spiral. And I'm ready to venture out on my own. It's just figuring out where my focus is going to go, or is it going to just be scrambled eggs?
Now, I know that you do other things artistically besides poetry, besides writing. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, um, I work in what I call mixed up media. I do collage and recycled art, and sometimes they blend together. I, it's usually messy, and I don't mind that at all because that's my creative chaos. So
What's the best time for you to write?
the best time for me to write is early in the morning. I usually wake up between 3 and 4. And that's when my ideas come to me the clearest. And I don't know if it's because I've had dreams and they're starting to manifest. I don't remember, but that's my best time.
Huh? I know that there are poets, including myself, who have certain subjects they just will not write about. Do
Mhm.
you have any of those, or is everything fair game?
Um, Gosh. Well, I won't write about assault on women. I will write that the trauma that it's caused, but I won't write about the actual um, action of it or violence. So,
Yeah. So, having dealt now, with all this heavy philosophical stuff, let's talk about the minutia of life.
mhm.
Ice cream or frozen yogurt?
Oh gosh. Well, you do get more choices with ice cream, so I guess it depends on what flavor you're feeling like. And
Yeah.
if it's before
What's
dinner
what's your
or after dinner.
okay? Now you're just being difficult for no good reason. Uh, first
That's
of
what my
all,
teachers used to say.
it's always before dinner. Okay, let's just deal with that right now. Dessert comes before the entree. Everybody knows this.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
okay. Favorite flavor then of ice cream or frozen yogurt?
Favorite flavor. I would have to say, well, I would have to say, let's go with, I have to say vanilla because I can make that any flavor I want by throwing in something in it.
Okay.
And I don't want to be vanilla, but that's
Everybody needs a base camp. I got you. Um,
it's my mixed up media.
okay. Favorite color?
Favorite color. Mm, Usually green.
What shade of green?
Oh, deep, um, between a lime and an olive.
Kind of like what I'm seeing in your background here, that green?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. Um, if you weren't in New Mexico, where in the world would you be?
I would I've been thinking about that lately. That would be either Argentina or Portugal.
Right. I know people in both places. Keep me posted.
Okay.
Okay. Last question. What do you want on your tombstone?
What
Not
do
the
I want
pizza.
on my tombstone? It would be, well, I don't want to sound cliche, but I'm adding a D on the end of these words. She lived, she laughed, and she loved.
Good as any. So
Except I won't
now,
have a tombstone.
well, how about we just write it across the wind for you?
Okay.
Will that work?
Yes.
Okay. So now we're going to go into the performance part of this. So for the next half hour, honey, the stage is yours.
Okay.
Dazzle us.
Thank you. And people, bear with me. This is my first Zoom performance. I've been to workshops and other readings, but anyway, here we are. It's so good to see all your names up here. I'm so excited. I'm going to start off with a few. It's kind of going to be Tina Turner, where I start off kind of slow, and then we're going to get a little bit wilder later. So the first one I'm starting with is Magnolia Memory, and it's about when I lived with my grandmother in San Diego when I was 5. And this was my first poem published in a book here in Silver City called Magnolia Memory. Afternoon hours spent lying underneath the fragrant canopy of creamy saucers kissing sky. I could pluck only a few blossoms within my reach, hoping Nana wouldn't notice that they were gone. Petals became doll fashions, hats, parasols, bodices of dresses attached to skirts of leaves. Pods, tiny chenille cones, became fruits or desserts on plates of bark. Fancy tea parties with dinner time. Fondest memories of placing velvety petals on my face, pressing to the shape of my cheeks, my forehead, my closed eyelids, my mother's touch imagined. And next I have one called It's in Upward Spiral, which is a year old as of last November. And um, poems of opening and renewal. And the book is divided into the 4 elements, and the 4 poets here, we contributed poems to each element, several poems to each element. It was quite a fun project. It took us 9 months, and then we gave birth. Okay. Strength of a daffodil. End of wintering offers random days of almost spring. Earth is taunted by hours of spontaneous sun, temperatures rising above degrees that bring a few days of freeze. Another snow day imminent. Early budding blooms of the determined daffodils bring worry, then hope, gathering their leaves inward and bow their flowering heads in collective sheltering. Blanketed in fresh snow, tiny mounds become survival mysteries of nature. Roots send up warmth from their spindly toes that burrow deeply in the cloak of Mother Earth. Afternoon thaws quench the thirst of resilient stems as newly birthed vibrant yellow petal cups join laughing survivors in sun-worshipping solidarity. Oh, adamant daffodils offering roots of comfort, leaves of shelter, and blossoms of hope as they bloom in times of uncertainty, showing their persistence to the world. And then I have one for fire. That was in the element of earth. And this one is in the element of fire. And fire was the hardest one for me to write poems for because that's one of the elements. That is one thing that I've always been afraid of all my life was fire. And bless all the people in my hometown in Los Angeles. And this one I wrote for Maui. Maui's fire in Lahaina had just happened right before this book came out. It's called Dragon Breath Orange. Tinderbox town, no warning as life is sucked from its collective lungs. Flames dance in darkness, seeking direction from ocean breezes, becoming hurricane force. Mountain sunrise hues, instantly turning dragon breath orange. Roads become swift tongues of fire while the ocean's waves, foamy fingers, beckon to the only way out. Community floats for hours on rafts of disbelief with rudders of hope as ashes of their lives descend to sting burning skin, crying eyes, broken hearts, and heavy minds. Now the islanders want hulihia, a turning, the change to return to the natural cycle that has been deeply disturbed, ready to build new expectations for the future, hope for hulihia. And then I have one more in the nature category, and then we'll get a little bit serious. This one is called A Day of Yellow. Screen of wild sunflowers, thick stalks heavy with monsoon nourishment, joyful lemon-colored faces stretching towards the sun, winding leaves of outstretched petals, a playground for winged visitors. Swallowtails arrive early in mornings, wings with distinctive patterns open and shut as if in slow, silent applause, sipping nectar for the day ahead. Afternoons, honeybees arrive, feasting and flitting from flower to flower, suckling centers and sampling golden dusting of the chaotic spreading of the fauna. Watching them become slower as laden with gifts for the queen, working ever so diligently before their lives give out. I cannot bring myself to trim nor extract this unruly yet necessary jungle. Goldfinch shows off his bright chartreuse feathers splashing in the pond. Hummingbird flutters over my left shoulder for a moment, as in confirmation to let things go naturally until life changes direction, as it always does. Just a moment. Okay, so something that I have been very not attached to, but very very a poet lost for words. I am just very immersed in the school shootings. I was involved in school shootings in 1975, and I can't believe 50 years later, we are still having to deal with this. So I have two poems here that address that. And the first one is called Death of Innocence. Gun in the hand of a 6-year-old. That first grader became a hater when he took the gun to school to leave his teacher in a pool of her blood. From wounds he inflicted, from bullets evicted as he pointed and shot her in front of someone's daughter as they ran screaming and crying, hoping she's not dying. Parents rush to their own, hoping their unknown brings relief to heartbeats pounding fiercely outside of their chests, heads throbbing with no, no, no to the tragedy ahead. Arms around their children and surrounded by the law, tears of joy and relief, yet still in disbelief of the gun in the hand of the classmate who sat next to their child, who ran to recess and hung from the monkey bars with their child, who ate lunch and swapped cookies with their child, who got on the school bus every day and sat next to their child. Young boy, barely emerged from toddlerhood. He is not to blame or to shame, and he will never, ever be the same. Yet how can we teach them? How do we reach them? Not just our children, but politicians who seem to be forever in recess. The next one I have, thank you. The next one I have is trigger triggers. If we keep killing our children, we'll never have drought, for the tears of the parents will never run out. It's just too wild to consider each child as a commodity. Isn't it an oddity that we are making choices between sweet little voices and putting a halt to weapons of assault? It's too bizarre for our country to be proud to own more guns than the population members you see. How does that fit into your religious beliefs of love one another when every day there is grief of the loss of a child shot by a neighbor or friend, and all because you want your right to defend? Defend yourself from the child who knocked at the wrong door, who took a wrong turn, and whose hearts beat no more. Now our hearts are with the families, replaces thoughts and prayers. Where were your hearts when gun control fell victim to naysayers? But guns don't kill people, is the excuse we often hear. True, it's the people with guns in their hand that we fear. What the fuck, NRA? What the fuck, USA? Must this be our hell to pay? I survived 2 drive-by shootings in high school long before. It was almost 50 years ago. What the fuck are we waiting for? Send me to DC, I tell you. All right. Yesterday, I went to the People's March, which was originally Women's March, and this one had their mission was mainly for the Roe v. Wade. And I had one poem written a while ago about that, and then from the first Women's March. And then I wrote one yesterday before I got there. So the one I wrote a while ago is called Alleged Allegiance. My country, 'tis of he, no longer land of liberty, of she I sing. Land where our mothers fried and many sisters died, let death bells ring. America, America, Your God sheds disgrace on me and crowns your good on the brotherhood from sea to dying sea. I put my right hand over my heart now for protection from this pain of patriotism, when what I really want to do is place my hands over my ears and pull my hat over my eyes and take your hands away from my mouth and just scream, "Wake me up from this American dream!" Okay, this one is called Option in a Closet. 3 weeks after turning 14 years of age, Roe versus Wade gave women fundamental rights to choose medical abortions, safely making life-changing decisions about their own bodies. At 14, this issue was not in my world of concerns. I had Lisa Simpson angst about pollution, air, water, conserving wildlife, recycling newspapers and cans, and ending the Vietnam War. A year later, I gave up my big V to my gymnast boyfriend who lived 30 miles away, over the hills, now apocalyptic, ashen landscapes in Southern California. Unafraid of the hormones raging deed, I was more worried about aftermath, unwanted possibilities. "No," he said, "it can't happen on the first time." Friends assured me that this was true. Thankfully, it didn't. But it did happen to my friend's older sister, who was only 16. We didn't see her for the rest of the school year. I learned about options. 20 years later, my body rejected, self-aborted 4 times by then. I mourn not the loss of a child, but possibilities of motherhood. My desert womb and dangers of pregnancy for my own existence led me to acceptance without bitterness. A frank discussion with my own mother, rare moment of diving deep into her own darkness. "Before you," she said, "I lost one. After you, I had to lose another, and I had to do it myself with a hanger from my closet." At that moment, I imagined such fear before, during, and after her decision. I imagined the intensity of her blood leaving her small body and being alone and afraid at 20 years old. Hospital saved her life, but the memory did not save her soul. I soon realized that this was not unusual for young women, girls, wives, to open their closets for answers, to self-surgeries as a last resort. 1960s were not glorious times to be female and fertile. 2022. We are not going back. No means no. Remove your laws from our bodies and keep your pussy-grabbing hands to yourselves. Do you want to know the depth and power of a metal hanger? We're not going back. No means no. Her body, her choice. No means no. Your choice should never be to send us back in the closet for options. Okay, and now I've got one that's a little bit, well, it's real life, but it's a little bit lighter, maybe. And it's about, I wrote it, it was last June when it came out that we got to display the 10 Commandments in all the classrooms everywhere, otherwise it's illegal. And that was, I believe, in Louisiana, yes. Okay. Ouch! Smack! Ouch! Pull your pants down, America. It's time for another royal spanking from the Bible Belt. Buckle up, Louisiana, because those leathery lawmakers are demanding all classrooms display the Ten Commandments proudly on an 11 by 14 poster for all to read. From kindergarten to university. State law, but not state funded. Smack! Ouch! People can donate them to schools, bringing them closer to God and securing their place in heaven. Wait a minute. First Amendment gives church and state separate bedrooms. States are going rogue, using religion as weaponry and armor. Naughty church, go back to your room. I mean no disrespect to any human that embraces religion, beliefs, spirituality. Just acknowledge our diversity. Listen closely, but look beyond. It would all be so much easier if we all followed the universal commandment of life. Thou shalt not be a dung funnel. Translation? Don't be an asshole. Thank you. Okay, so before I moved here to New Mexico in 2018, I went through a divorce of 19 years, and which was good. And about a year later, I got into the world of online dating. So I wrote a little ditty about, I learned a word in online dating through a prospect, and it was called sapiophile. And so here it goes. It's called, and that's when you're attracted to someone's brain. It's called Dance of the Intellects. Oh, I like what you're wearing, but do I like what you're sharing as I hear what spills from your brain? It's highly attractive to know your mind's active without ever having to strain. You think quickly on your feet, and it gives me some heat, making my whole being smile. Because what I desire to stoke my inner fire is the fuel of a sapiophile. So bring on the banter, the wisdom, the knowledge, everything you've loved and learned in and out of college. So now we're definitely smiling as we're sapiophiling and dancing with our intellects. When you show that you're smarter and you don't have to work harder to get some great sapio sex. And if you have the wits, I might show you my tits, and into the bed we may rumble. But when we're all done with our evening of fun, I gotta do my word jumble. Oh, sweet sapiophile, your genius IQ is appealing as our brains fornicate beyond the first date. Is this heat that I'm really feeling? I don't know. How much time do I have? I don't have a timer. Let's
Give
see.
us about two more.
Two more. Okay. I've got Bipoetic Squirrel Woman. I I read this as one of my interview poems for Poet Laureate, and I didn't get it, but that's okay because I just wanted to read it to everyone that was sitting around the table there. It's called Bipoetic Squirrel Woman by Shelly. Deciding to give myself a label as a writer so I can fit in a book, like an anthology or a fancy uppity magazine or on that outlaw website or a library shelf, or maybe, just maybe, a poem of mine in your wallet. You see, I have an ADHD, PTSD, POV, and no degree that says I am a master. I have pens, poetic friends with pens, and endless paper, napkins, envelopes, bookmarks, wooden coffee stir sticks, post-its, journals, and the back of a greeting card that should have been gone a long time ago. But I recycle and upcycle after the decycle. My laptop is part of the big top of my technology three-ring shit show circus. Ta-da! That involves talking to strangers and dangers of someone wanting to put me in to be me in some other country. In person, I talk with strangers about art, music, poetry, life, what we're here for, what we fight for, what we live for, and what we would die for. Nature's gifts, glimmers in a flower, shimmers on the water, pretty little ditties about life. Nature's vengeance, no bees, no flowers, floods and drought make me shout words to be heard. Yes, I am truly bipoetic in these seesaw times, with balance and acceptance and two pens. Okay, I'll read you one more from the book. And this one is about, it's in the earth category. No, I think I'll read you the water one. Missing the Pacific, because I do miss the water here. I love New Mexico. I love the constant sunshine. I do miss the ocean. But where I live here in New Mexico is not desert. We're in the Gila wilderness. It's green. It's beautiful. Right now we're in a drought, but it's it's home. But this is called Missing the Pacific. Standing where earth meets water and water meets changing colors of sky, I can almost see the turn of the world. Seeking solace, I allow rhythms of the ocean to become soothing vibrations in my being. Just as quickly as waves roar to the shore, they are whisked away in whispers, leaving trashy treasures and salty tears glistening at my sandy toe tips. Seaweed cloaked driftwood, agates and broken shells, rusty bits, beach glass, and pottery shards, messengers of earth. One by one, my pockets fill with imagined stories and surplus grains of sand. Seaweed stays behind, longing for surf to carry it out to sea, in search of another soaked surface to embrace. I wander water's edge from sunrise to darkness, speaking only to the Pacific Ocean, healer without words. And I want to dedicate that to all of that stretch where the fire is, because that's where I started with my relationship with the ocean, Malibu, Santa Monica. And I want to thank all of you. And I see some of you here that we've taken those walks on those beaches and we've put those things in our pockets. And I miss you all. And I'm so glad you were all here. And with climate change, you just got to have a go bag ready to go. That's all I'm saying. So thank you. Oh,
Shelly, thank you so much. Y'all open up your mics, throw this lady some roses.
Good
Love
to
you,
see you
Shelly.
guys. Thanks for the invite.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry I was late. Was on the
That's all
phone.
right. I was late.
Then I realized that the time changed and I'm like trying to calculate because I was on the phone and I'm like, I gotta go and support my sister. So I hung up the phone with them.
Oh, Erica, love you. Thank you so much.
No problem. No problem at all.
And there's my former boss, Patricia. Hi. Hi. Jennifer, you're coming here. Thank you so much.
Good to see you and hear you today, Shelly.
Hi, Rich. Thank you so much.
You're
Cheers.
welcome.
Hi, Christoph, partner in rhyme. All right.
Hey, Shelly,
Thank you.
good stuff.
Thank you so much.
Keep on writing. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Glenn Helen. Thank you.
Shelly.
Love you
Okay.
all. Be safe,
So,
be warm.
this is the end of, as I said, our first program, DeSoto's first program for the year. Keep your eyes open for our other online offerings, Nuance, Woman Heart, and Pen and Sword. Hope to see you all in those venues in one way or another. DeSoto will also this year be doing as many performances as possible on the ground, because online is fine, but nothing beats being, in front of a live audience. So we're going to be doing as much of that as possible. If you like what we're doing and you want to donate to the flow, just go to poetswind@hotmail.com at PayPal and do you, boo. We run on donations and grants. 90% of everything a show makes goes to the artist. 10% comes back to DeSoto so we can keep the lights on. And if you can't do PayPal, let me know. We'll work something out. In the meantime, please, 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 especially tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be rough for a lot of us.
Yeah.
So take care. Be safe, please. Be safe. And kind of, belt in, hang on, and hug each other, because the next 4 years are going to be interesting. Anyway, y'all take it easy. Give Shelly, one more round of applause here. Throw a couple of more
So much.
roses.
Yay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
And we
like,
see you all somewhere, I know, around the block. Thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.